on the right side of the end zone. It'll be Terrence Williams. I'll catch it. Touchdown, Cowboys. Prescott keeps. Pile up. Touchdown. Back goes Prescott. Bryant, a leaping catch at the 5.
Over and over again, at critical moments, he came up with big plays. He just played winning football for us, and he did the things that winning quarterbacks do. I just thought he was outstanding throughout this ball game.
You are right, Jason Garrett. Dak Prescott has now won 10 straight starts as a rookie, the second most in NFL history. The only other rookie quarterback to win more, it's one Ben Roethlisberger. Not bad company to be in. Stephen A., from what you saw yesterday, can Dak take this squad all the way to Houston for the Super Bowl?
No, I'm not giving him that. I mean, I'm not saying yes or no to it, but I'm saying y'all are not going to get me to sit on national television and concede a damn thing until I absolutely positively have to. It's week 10 of the regular, week 11 rather, of the regular season. The playoffs have not arrived yet. The competition that he's going against has been decent. He is to be respected for how phenomenal he has looked. Listen, I am a Cowboy hater extraordinaire who is fully capable of loving certain members of the Cowboys. Michael Irvin is my man to the end of time. So is Emmitt Smith, and I have profound respect for Troy Aikman, who does an exceptional job as an analyst, by the way, not just as a 3-time Super Bowl champion quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys during this heyday. Just because I can't stand their fan base, because I think the Dallas Cowboys fan base is the worst, most delusional, obnoxious fan base in American history, and I just can't stand them, doesn't mean that I ignore the greatness that I see from individual players wearing their team's uniform. Having said all of that, it will force me to hold down the fort and to make sure that we don't jump out ahead of the game and give respect before it's due. Dak Prescott is a stud. He's big time. But that doesn't mean he is profound enough to overcome the perpetual accident waiting to happen that is the Cowboys that we have known them to be. Until he proves otherwise, which comes postseason time, I ain't giving him a damn thing more than I just gave him. I'm holding down the fort. That is where I stand.
Now, come on. You know it when you see it. You mentioned Ben Roethlisberger, who, by the way, wasn't very good in the playoffs.
Nothing yet.
Wasn't very good in the playoffs the first time round. I mean, he made a tackle in the open field after throwing an interception, but you could see Ben Roethlisberger was a great football player. You can see the same thing in Dak Prescott, and you can smell it on a guy. You're not always going to be right about it, but you can have a pretty strong sense of the kind of player that would, play big in the big moments when you needed them to most. And Dak Prescott has there's every indication that he's that kind of guy. Again, it's been that way since the first time you saw him in preseason, if you're honest with yourself. Can Dak Prescott win a Super Bowl as a rookie? The answer is absolutely yes. He can do it. I'm not saying they will, but if they don't, it's not going to be because of Dak Prescott. It'll be because of the defense, as I mentioned earlier. They have a problem getting pressure on the quarterback. So as you saw yesterday, Kirk Cousins, who's a very good quarterback, having an excellent season this year, you can say that about him. But Kirk Cousins, looked like Peyton Manning because he had all day to throw. That will be, if they are undone, their undoing will be their inability to get pressure on the quarterback. It will not be Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott will not be the reason they don't win, if they don't win, because I'm here to tell you, and I think I just spat up in my mouth a little bit even thinking about it, the Cowboys can win the Super Bowl this year. I can't even say it. Don't make me say it. But Stephen A., it ain't going to be because of Dak Prescott if they don't. That guy's got it written all over him. He's a winner.
So Dak Prescott's not capable of having a bad game?
He's capable of it, sure, but ain't going to happen when you need him the most.
Dak Prescott's not capable of having a bad game come playoff time?
Derek Jeter was capable of having a bad game, but you wanted him up with the game on the line. Dak Prescott's that kind of dude, man. What are you going to deny that? You can see it.
Those are the things you say. Those are the things we said once Derek Jeter went to the postseason and proved he was Derek Jeter.
We're
waiting for that with Dak Prescott. We shall see.
In his rookie season, he did it. Tom Brady, too.
Yeah, look at the team he had with him.
Huh?
Look at the team he had with him. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not giving Dak Prescott anything yet. I acknowledge he's a young stud. I ain't giving it up. I ain't giving it up, not yet.
You just
I'm
wanna
going to hold
be
down, the fort. I'm going to hold down the fort.
You stay with
I'm
that.
going to hold it down.
You do that. The Seahawks, Legion
I'm not
of Boom,
moving.
they might have something to say about it as
I ain't giving them
well.
anything more than I've already given
Okay.
them. Nothing else.
Okay.
Him or Zeke. And I know they studs, but damn it, show it in the postseason. We'll see.
All right.
We'll
Please
see.
don't, Dak. You don't
Okay.
need to show it in the postseason.
Let's
All right.
let's
Let them
leave it
stick up
there,
and join the
gentlemen.
postseason, and let's see what we're saying next.
We got more to get into because it is going down at the shoe for a place in the college playoff. The guys will pick that game as well as many others in our quick takes. Stay here.
Pittsburgh Steelers, and you can't beat Scott Tolzien. Scott Tolzien. I ain't want to talk about you no more. I mean, if they lose to this dude, we might have to talk about them tomorrow because we're going to revisit the results of today's games. But that's about it. I ain't want to talk about the Steelers anymore. Now, you can't beat Scott Tolzien? Him? You got to be kidding me. I ain't want to hear it.
Really hitting that zine hard, Stephen A. Ask and you shall receive. The Steelers dominated at Indy with a 28-7 win. Business. It was booming for Antonio Brown with 3 TDs. This Colts team was decimated by injuries, most notably, of course, Andrew Luck. Mr. Smith, your Steelers, how much stock are you putting into that win?
Nothing. Didn't mean anything to me. I fully expected them to win. My stock would have been had they lost. Had they lost, it would have dropped. It would have plummeted into an abyss, never to return for the rest of the season. You can't beat the Indianapolis Colts with Scott Tolzien starting as your quarterback instead of Andrew Luck. I would not have wanted to hear it. But then take into consideration, not only did that happen, but safety Clayton gave this. He didn't sit there. He didn't play because he was injured before the game. Ryan Kelly, your center, got hurt during the game. You know, what is it? Vontae Davis, he hurt his groin injury. He couldn't play. Denzel Good, shoulder and neck. He couldn't play. T.Y. Hilton, we all know what a bad boy he is. He ultimately ended up getting hurt his back. Robert Mathis hurt his elbow. So everywhere you turned, they were decimated by injuries if you were the Indianapolis Colts. When you combine that with Big Ben Roethlisberger, being able to hook up with Antonio Brown, who, by the way, is one of the top 2 to 3 receivers in the game, somebody that we debated was the best receiver in the game of football at the start of this season, and you have him in single coverage, you better have scored 3 touchdowns against the Colts. So I'm not putting much stock in it other than to say this. The Pittsburgh Steelers did what the hell they were supposed to do. So there is no abyss to fall in, never to be returned or never to be seen again for the rest of this season. That much I will give them. But I'm not putting much stock in it. It's just that now they don't fall into the abyss. I'm not overwhelmed. They were supposed to do this. This is what's called handling your business.
Even had they lost, whatever, short week, you lose to a team you should beat. It happens to most teams throughout the course of the season. It doesn't mean they would have lost the division. The Ravens are sitting there 5-5. I just spoke about their point differential. They're not that good. I never thought the Steelers were going to be that great this season as many others did. But without Martavis Bryant, you still figure you got a really good offensive line. You got a great future Hall of Fame quarterback who's playing at a very high level still. You have arguably the best receiver in the game. And I think you have certainly the best running back in the game, though it doesn't look like it this season. So what did we see here yesterday? And by the way, Tolzien was game. Tolzien was he was a good competitor yesterday, just didn't have enough to work with, and he was against a better team. So I agree that the Steelers' defense looked a little maybe better than they really are yesterday. If you're thinking that's what they are defensively, those picks late in the game, that's not really them. That's a desperate, quarterback who hadn't played in a long time just trying to make something happen because his team is losing and they were picking him off. Big deal. But the offensive line played very well. Ben Roethlisberger threw 3 touchdown passes
always do
to
against
Antonio. Ben Roethlisberger threw 3 touchdown passes to Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell not only ran for 120 yards, but 80-plus were before contact. I mean, the offensive line was playing really well. My point, but there were times this season, Stephen A., where I looked at that offensive line, I thought, not what I thought it was going to be. They're back. So now my point is the Steelers are who I thought they'd be to begin the season. A team kind of like the Oakland Raiders or the Atlanta Falcons or the New Orleans Saints in the sense that they have a really good offensive line, some elite skills position players, and a high-powered offense. And the question is, how well can they play defense? I believe not enough to be a serious Super Bowl threat, but certainly well enough to win the division. I think if you're a Steelers fan, you got to look at yesterday and say, yup, that's the team I thought they'd be. High-powered offensive team with a chance to win any given Sunday, or in this case, Thanksgiving Day. I think that's what you got to take away from it.
The operative words that you threw out there is looking at them yesterday, because the whole premise of it all was this. Had you went up against this particular Indianapolis Colts team, led by Ryan Grigson, coached by Chuck Pagano, without the services of Andrew Luck, against that defense that was going to put Antonio Brown in single coverage because they were so decimated by injuries, if you were the Steelers and you had went out on that field Sunday night in Indianapolis and stunk up the joint or managed to lose to that team, you would have gotten that. To me, there's no way that anybody would have been able to make the argument that you just made. Certainly your argument is salient and profound at this particular juncture because they handled their business yesterday. But had they not handled their business yesterday, which was my point, it would have been a disaster. And I'm telling you right now, I would have been finished with them had they lost last night's game to this Indianapolis Colts team.
Nobody, let's say the playoffs were to start today and the Steelers were in them. No, if your draw was the Steelers, if you have to play that team, even if you're a fundamentally better team because you're balanced on both sides of the ball, you're still like, maybe we could have gotten some other some other team, not those guys.
Not against
because
that
they
defense.
are so special on offense on the line. No, not the defense, but the quarterback, the wideout, and the running back are basically as good as it ever gets. You rarely have that three combination behind a good offensive line as the Steelers do right now.
Business booming, business handled. Steelers are in first in the AFC North. And you know what's going to be fun? Next week, a week from Sunday, we have Max's Giants versus Stephen A's Steelers. I think we need a little wager, gentlemen, coming up on the line. Speaking of knowing what it's like to be in first, Dak Prescott is doing things that have never been done in a Cowboys uniform. But will he be able to take his team to the Super Bowl? We discuss.